Hello there guys and welcome back. Welcome back to the Virago build. It's absolutely freezing today. The garage is like 1 or 2 degrees right now. I just put a little heater on, waiting a little bit for it to warm up. I'm gonna grab probably a couple of shots of rum just to keep me warm, and then we're gonna do some work on this bad boy, which is long overdue. Welcome back. Right, what's going on today? It's a very simple task. I want to drain the oil from the engine. Reason for that is I want to rip it off the frame, but it's going to be easier for me to drain the oil right now than later on. I mean, I got the space over here to do it, and then I can split the engine, remove the alternator cover and the clutch cover on the other side. I want to replace those gaskets over there because the oil was whipping just a little bit. Even right now, it's been not been running for a few months, and it's a little bit of that appeared under the case over here. Yeah, definitely a little bit of oil is whipping, which is not bad really for a bike this age. But I'm hoping if I replace the gaskets with the new ones, at least them 2 main ones on the sides, that will cure the problem. Because I wiped the engine underneath completely dry, degreased it, and it just appears. So I want to target that issue before I go ahead any further and get the engine repainted. I won't be rebuilding the engine fully. I will be splitting it completely in half. Why not? Because it's running. There's nothing wrong with it. It's running absolutely fine. If it ain't broken, don't fucking fix it, Mackie, because you will fuck it up. So I'm gonna leave it as it is, clean it as best as I can on the outside. I'm not gonna do soda blasting, sand blasting, or glass balls blasting, you name it, all those fancy technique. I'm just gonna elbow grease it best I can, and then give it a good few coats of paint. But before that happens, I need to drain the oil. Let's do it. Right, obviously changing oil is a relatively simple task, but I've never changed oil on the Virago, especially not the American import like this. Yes, I can work it out just by looking at the engine, most probably, but there's always something, tricky or simple. Manual is gonna make my life so much easier, and I didn't buy this manual. I printed off, I downloaded a PDF and I printed off the internet free of charge. And why not? So the first thing is the drain bolt is actually over here on the side of the engine, not underneath. It's over here, and the air filter, not the air filter, the oil filter, that's the one I'm changing, is on the other side of the engine, so we get there later on. I know some of you will probably say you need to warm up the engine for a few minutes before you tackle the oil change, and I agree, but I wasn't thinking about it before. I ripped all the wiring loom and everything else from the engine, so I can't really start it right now. Plus, I don't know when last this oil was changed, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drain it when it's cold, best I can. I can leave it dripping in over a few days, it's no problem. Fill it up with fresh oil, and I'm gonna run the bike later on for, let's say, I don't know, 500 miles, maybe even less than that, 100 miles, and I'm gonna replace the oil again. It's only like 25 pounds for the 4 liters of oil, and it will flush all the nasty shit and all the bad stuff from the engine completely. So I'm gonna do it twice later on, which I think is a good practice when dealing with really old engines like this one. Especially, I don't have any service history of this bad boy. I don't know what happened there before, so I think that's a really good idea anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up and just crack on with it. Wish me luck. Just when I thought this bike is all covered, I've got everything covered here. Well, I guess it's not bike, it's people who owned it before. They'll never stop surprising me. There is a gasket over here, a seal, rubber seal, O-ring or whatever you name it. But in here, for some reason, it's only something I can explain well, I can't even explain it. I think it's a silicone. I mean, look at that. It looks, I can describe it only as silicone. It behaves like silicone. It looks like silicone. Just like a regular bathroom silicone. I don't know. I think that's what it is. It looks like it. And it's all around here. I'm gonna clean this up. I don't believe there should be a gasket here in this spot, but somebody decided to put silicone over here. And here as well. Oh well, fair play. Live and learn, I guess. Yeah. Well, another reason to take this shit apart, clean it up, give it a new life. Let's make it happen. Cool, let's do it. Okay, I can see a pattern here right now. Looks like everything on this bike is sealed by some kind of silicone. I mean, I'm guessing it's silicone because it's like really clear. It may be a gasket maker. I'm not quite sure. I mean, that part wasn't leaking, so I guess whatever that was, it was doing a good job. But still, I don't think there is a need for silicone over here. There's a perfectly good O-ring that probably, well, I'm guessing may need replacing, or maybe it was whipping. That's why the previous owner put some silicone around it or some gasket maker just to make it seal a little bit tighter, which isn't a bad idea if you're on the budget, I guess. You know, get him out of the trouble, put the bike back on the road, and it was working. You know, I didn't have problems with it, so maybe it's not such a bad idea. Anyway, I will be replacing that, that's for sure. Let's carry on. Now, this is interesting part, because what I just removed and lays down there, it looks to me like oil screen, or some kind of oil screen like this, because it's got the kind of, well, a screen, a mesh over here, filter, in replaceable filter. I believe that just need to be cleaned. Again, I'm talking out of my ass right now because this is the first time working on this engine, and even though I've got manual with me, I never done this before, not on this bike anyway. I've got a similar kind of setup on my KTM, but it's got a dry sump and it's got an oil filter kind of screen, this style as well, apart from the regular oil filter. So it's got oil screen on top of that, you know, like a double, you know, protection. I think that's what it is. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. But looking at it, obviously the oil passages through all the way here, and there's a like an internal passage as well in there, which is really good design. And as I said before, there's fucking silicone everywhere. There's silicone or a gasket maker, whatever that is, all around these parts. That need to be cleaned up. And the one good reason probably not to put silicone or too much of gasket maker everywhere, because this is what happens. That is exactly what it is. Don't know if you can see it, but it's this oil screen or whatever that is. It's full of it. It's full of that shit, and it's a good job it was here, because obviously that's the job, to catch all this shit around. But it's completely filled with that stuff. So I'm gonna give it a good clean. take it apart, because it's all the way there, as you can see. Obviously not brilliant if this stuff is floating around in your engine. It can clog passages, it can cause all kind of trouble. So good job to clean this up. Right, let's carry on. Right, that it is. So it's a stator side off. Luckily enough, I've done. Remember my VMAX, my 1200 VMAX, back in the summer. I replaced that stator cover case completely. I removed that from the engine. And this is very similar, you know, being obviously, yes, it's a motorcycle, but being a Yamaha as well, so all the design and everything, it's very similar. It's a similar kind of age bike. This is 82, I think, and my VMAX was 89, so it makes it kind of technologically, you know, same era kind of thing, if you want to think about it this way. So I knew right now, at this time I knew when I'm pulling it back, the thing that's putting pressure on is the magnet. The actual magnet is very strong. To pull it out, something is just pulling it back all the time. I spent probably a good 45 minutes, or maybe more, fucking more, in my VMAX when I was pulling it out, because I wasn't sure it's something's holding it, some cables are trapped, there's another screw or bolt somewhere going back and forth with the manuals. Well, this time around I knew there's a magnet, very strong magnet in there, and that's what's causing the resistance. The bad news is silicone fucking everywhere, as I kind of expected at this stage. That can cause all sorts of issues, you know, blocking passages, you know, as you can see in his screen, oil screen over there. That can cause all sorts of issues. But the good news is everything looks pretty clean, and none of the gears or anything is worn out. Let me take you a little bit closer here. It all looks pretty healthy condition for a bike this age anyway. There's no major issues. Don't lose this o-ring. No major problems, I don't think so anyway. Somebody's been here before a number of times, that is certain. But other than that, everything looking pretty healthy, which is always good to see on the bike this age anyway. Obviously it will need to be cleaned up real good, and I'm gonna do that. But other than that, happy days, I think. So far so good. That will give me the opportunity to replace this gasket. It's not the best condition, and that's probably causing the leak. So I'm going to replace that gasket, give it a good clean inside and out, polish this part if I can, or paint it, I don't know. I'm not overly happy with completely black engines. This will have to be black, but if I got this part off already, maybe there's opportunity to give it a good clean, good polish. Don't want to go crazy with it, just to make it a little bit more presentable. Other than that, happy days. I achieved what I wanted to do today. I'm gonna call it a night very, very soon. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Pretty good progress so far, and I would say 80% happy with what I found. No major issues, obviously things to be dealt with, but not the end of the world. Before I wrap this video up, a question to all of you guys, which are definitely more brainy than I am in the world of motorcycles. What is your opinion on using a proper paper gaskets as opposed to a gasket maker? And I mean a gasket maker, not that fucking silicone stuff, because what it is over here, it's definitely not a gasket maker. This is silicone. The way it disintegrates, the way it behaves, react to the oil, the parts cleaner I had over there, which is kind of petrol based liquid, I think. It's definitely not a gasket maker, not the real deal. It's something cheap somebody used to get him quickly out of trouble, I think, to stop the leak, which I guess it worked to some degree. But this part, you know, there's a part from a clutch cover. It doesn't have any paper gasket on it. It's got this blue shit and clear see-through stuff, which obviously I will have to clean up properly before I put it back on the bike. Same over there. But I'm just asking whether to use a proper paper gasket or the gasket maker. What do you think? And by gasket maker, I mean this stuff. I had it before. Can't really see it right now, but it's like a proper RTV resistant. This black stuff is resistant up to, can't remember, 380 degrees centigrade, 650 Fahrenheit, whatever that is. I read a lot on the forums, especially on the dirt bike forums, guys saying using paper gasket, it was only option back in the day, but these days this stuff, the gasket makers, they're resistant to modern petrol, they're resistant to all kind of oils and everything else, and they saying it's not only a cheaper way of doing making a gasket, but it's also a more efficient way of doing it. It's better apparently. I guess in the world of off-roading on the dirt bikes, you have to rebuild the engine quite often, every 20-40 hours, whatever that is, so it's much cheaper and make more sense for these guys using gasket makers rather than expensive paper gasket cut to size. But I don't know, just thinking out loud, what do you guys think, you know, paper gaskets or gasket makers, you know, silicone kind of stuff, whatever. Let me know your opinion of it. Maybe you have some more experience with that yourself. I always been using paper gaskets, but maybe it's time to change it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Drop me a comment below about this. That's the subject of this video. Paper gasket versus gasket makers. What do you think? Let me know, and I read every single comment, I promise you that, and I'll take it to consideration when it comes to replacing gasket sets on the side of clutch and the alternator cover. See what happens. Alright guys, once again thank you very much for watching. As always, have a beer, rock hard, and I'll see you very soon. Hopefully it's gonna be a little bit warmer over here. Thanks, bye.